Hey everybody, welcome to the Pantry Party Show with your host at DJ Blattner. Hey, it's Friday. It's the Pantry Party Show and it's a special edition. It's an early happy hour with low proof and no proof cocktails. Our guest today is at Hollow Leg Mixology and I can't wait to get this party started. The Pantry Show party begins right now. Ooh-wee! Ooh-wee! I cannot wait for today. Flip this baby around. I have on, feeling good as hell, a little Lizzo shirt, and my sparkle shirt, or I guess it's sparkle here, and skirt, because listen up. This is early happy hour, kids. I mean, let's get it. If you've got anything with sequins, oh, shoot, this whole thing fell down. If you've got anything with sequins like this, you know, maybe go get it because this is an early happy hour, people. Early happy hour. Okay, so our guest is at Hollow Leg Mixology. Let's get her in. Why we shouldn't wait any more to get this party started. Let's go, girl. You guys are ready to give her a warm pantry party welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
How are
Hollow Leg Mixology?
I am doing so well. How are you?
Good. Hey, welcome to the Pantry Party Show.
My goodness, we're both bright and colorful today.
Well, you know what? I do feel like I got a lot to live up to. If you call your show the Pantry Party Show, I mean, it's every day I'm like, okay, I gotta wear frills, I gotta wear sequins, I gotta have a disco ball. I mean,
Girl, I gotta get my head cut off. That's my problem.
Well, hey, so here's the scoop. This is not the first time we've met.
Never. Oh, as I like kill myself.
Oh, look at that.
There we go.
Well, you know what? I needed those anti-nausea bracelets for that camera work right there.
I was like thinking what we need is tripods that are like mechanical, so you can actually just pivot as you go rather than having these things that are all manual these days. Someone needs to come up with this idea.
I was just going to say, you're an entrepreneur, girl. It sounds like your next brilliant idea.
We obviously need a tech person.
Yeah. So we met officially when I was hosting See Chicago, which was a show all about shopping, entertainment, and events. And you were one of the absolute first episodes ever on that television show. Oh! And I remember just thinking, wow, this woman is so passionate. Like, you know, when I would go and I would see people at different things, you know, everybody liked what they did and they seemed passionate, but you just had that like special next level. How did you get into mixology and having the #1 ranked mixology class in all of Chicago?
Oh my gosh, girl. I came into this entire industry by complete accident. I entered a national cocktail competition in 2014. I had no experience as a bartender, no experience as a mixologist. I've never served a drink behind a bar in my life, but I entered this cocktail competition and won first place in the entire nation. So what? I know, it was crazy. I think no one was more shocked than I was. I had a love for food, and I got my master's degree at Medill at Northwestern. And I was a food reporter, and I was really big into sustainable agriculture. And then I won this cocktail competition. It thrust me into this world of ironic facial hair and suspender strapped men behind bars with most pretension. And I thought, how do we shake this industry up? Because there's not many people behind a bar that look like me. No tattoos, like, you know what I mean? Like not Julia childlike conviction, a lot of pep, more like a cheerleader. And I thought, we need to inject more science. We need to inject more personality and no pretension because cocktails should be fun.
I mean, come on, hold up. You're going to get a ball for that. Cocktails should be fun. Wait, now listen, I need to know. So what the heck was this recipe? Why do you think you won? What was the recipe that made you this like national phenomenon?
So I worked with a product that not a lot of people knew what was. So do you know what a pawpaw is?
Pawpaw fruit?
Yeah, the fruit.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know what that is. It's an indigenous fruit native to the Midwest. And I actually made a pawpaw puree that I put with a fermented sour cherry apple cider. I put with rye vodka from Koval and then a little bit of clove honey, made it like a daiquiri. And then because it has that pawpaw flavor, it's got those sort of papaya notes. It's got the creamy consistency of a banana. It's more tropical. I called it a Maui in the Midwest. And then just made this sort of beacon of, hey, even though we've got cold weather, we've got tropical flavors that are indigenous to the Midwest. And that's something to celebrate.
Oh my gosh. Well, no, I'm like, no wonder why you won. Because I feel like the unusual ingredients, like, can you get pawpaw in the store? Like, I've never seen it.
You can't, but you can get it at the farmer's market. And usually at Green City Market, Oriana's Oriental Orchard, based in Skokie, has a ton of it. So she grows it.
Okay, so I mean, it's around, right?
It's around,
but it's definitely an abstract ingredient. But I love that. You can see, so it's got that element of unique interest, right? It's got also, though, your food journalism there, because it's like the storytelling. Like, that's the story right there. It's like, it's not just like, oh, these flavors go well together. You're like, this is indigenous to the Midwest. And
yeah.
Like food journalists, all in there.
I love it.
Wow, isn't that cool? So here's the thing, though. It's like, so you won this, but I'm trying to think, like, okay, you're a food journalist. You know, you really have this passion for food. What made you enter a contest like that in the first place?
So back in the day, and you have to kind of remember what the times were like when I entered this. So remember 2013, 2014 was really the uprise of things like Airbnb and this sort of sharing gig economy where, you know, we were really trying to figure out how to share our skills. And I had started doing these classes, little cooking classes, and butter making, hilariously enough, because I was a science nerd who wanted to teach people how to make butter and pasta, but instead of just a cooking class, I wanted to infuse a lot of science. So what does the science of aeration do? What does trigeminal effects, what are they, and how do they contribute to baking or for cooking? And so I was teaching people out of my home on a platform that was existent at the time, it doesn't exist anymore, how to make butter and pasta. And I just got this random cult following of people. And what happened was, because I was in sustainable agriculture and going to the farmer's market, all of these farmers were giving me little products like 6 dozen eggs, or they were giving me 8 pounds of blueberries. And so what do you do with those? You process them. And then before a butter making class, you make a cocktail and then you served it. And so people were like, do you ever do cocktail making classes? And I said, no, I've never served a drink behind a bar. I've never been a bartender. I don't do that. They're like, yeah, but these are really good. And so, girl, I entered, and the competition was held by Slow Food America. And so sustainable agriculture, it all tied right in. And I thought, let's just give this a shot. And then when I won the Midwest, and then we went to New York, and then I won nationals. And I thought, this is insane. I went to Italy. I went to all of the different things that we had in Italy after I won the nationals. And it was just so much fun. But then, Dawn, and you know this, you go to so many bars in the city here in New York, and there's just so much pretension around cocktails that sometimes you feel bad not knowing every ingredient on the list. And you feel bad if you order something because you didn't quite know what the taste was, and you're like, oh, this is awful, but you never want to send it back. And I thought, we need to teach people and really demystify the cocktail world, because it's very much so a game of knowing and education, more so than it just is guesswork. So I thought, let's start teaching these classes that are hands-on, they're interactive, and that we're telling people about science and about, of course, neurogastronomical science, how we taste. And then we'll educate people so they can be smarter and just do it in a non-pretentious manner, because really, that's the whole thing. Cocktails are supposed to be fun. They're not supposed to be it.
I gotta tell you, okay, there's 2 things, you know, I was trying not to interrupt because it was such a good story, but I was like, oh my God, I gotta pipe in. Here is the scoop. I freaking love when the universe pushes a nudge and you listen and you take it. So the thing is you're making butter, okay? You could have been like, no, I don't do cocktail parties, and just like kept doing butter. But you stayed open to the universe message, and you were like, huh, maybe I could do a cocktail class. They seem to like them. And then it's like, huh, maybe I could enter this contest. And then all of a sudden, it's like, hey, girl, all these things that you're pushing yourself and listening to the universe about gets you to where you are now. I love stories like that. I call it following the breadcrumbs, that you just
Love
picking
that.
up these little breadcrumbs that life gives you, and all of a sudden, look, this is what you do for a living.
Yeah.
It's the #1 mixology class in Chicago. Like, that is, it is huge. The other thing that, as you were talking, I was like, oh my God, this isn't an act. She really loves science. Like, I kind of thought, I was like, does she really love science? She probably just says that to, like, you know, it's good marketing to be like, I put science in it. Girl, you love science. You are a nerd.
I'm such a nerd. And the funny thing is that the science is always developing. So there's always something new to learn. But also, Dawn, you and I, we taste things very differently. So if both of us got a cocktail, we would probably try it, and our palates would tell us different things. And maybe if I tried the same cocktail that you liked, it wasn't sweet enough for me. Or maybe something was too bitter for you. And so what I love to do is I call myself the cocktail Sherpa, which I'm going to get people to the top of Cocktail Mountain. And I literally educate as we go along. So I'll try cocktails in class with them. And if they say, oh, there's something about this I don't like, I say, all right, let's figure out what it is, and then let's use science, whether it's acidity to quell bitterness or maybe a bit of salt to make it a palate cleanser. What can we do to make this cocktail for you? Because there's as many cocktails as there are cocktail drinkers, and everybody should be excited and happy about the combination that's been given to them. Yeah, there's no perfect cocktail.
Trying that everybody tastes differently. So, you know, what somebody likes, doesn't like, no judgment. It's like you just have different taste buds.
Yeah.
I will say a couple of things. One, I generally don't get cocktails all that much because I'm always like, oh my God, there's so much sugar in them. Oh my God. So anyway, just so you know, like I'm usually, it's got to be something to really knock my socks off, or like go to a place that's really known for this particular cocktail or something for me to get a cocktail. So just so you know, like I really am like, you know, discerning palate, if you will, of like, I will only have these special ones. The other thing that I think is interesting that I wanted to, before we get into actual cocktailing, is I wanted to talk about your distaste for the word. Should I even say it? I don't want to say the M word. Should I say the M word?
Say it.
Mocktail.
I hate that word.
Mocktail. She hates the word mocktail.
I hate it. There's nothing sexy about the word mocktail. It's like anytime you ordered a mocktail, you were probably 12, 13, you ordered a Shirley Temple, or maybe it was like a cute word of like, oh, I want a mocktail. There's nothing. Listen, girl, I'm almost 34. There ain't nothing sexy about a 34-year-old going in and ordering something virgin or something mocktail. I call them no proof mixology. It's no proof cocktails because it's got zero alcohol, right? It's just, the thing is that, here's the thing. If you call it a mocktail or virgin, it doesn't lend the dignity of the science behind what goes in to that particular cocktail. Because if you eliminate alcohol from a cocktail, that is taking something away, but that's only one thing that can be added into a cocktail, where we called it trigeminal effect, which is a trigeminal sting of the alcohol in the back of the throat. But there are so many trigeminal effects. There's the heat of capsaicin and hot peppers and black pepper. There's things that are like
a good hot pepper margarita.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm actually doing a rhubarb red pepper margarita that I'm releasing next week for rhubarb season. So you'll have to stay tuned. But all these things you can make chemically reactive, really like there's a party in your mouth and everyone's invited cocktails with no alcohol whatsoever, if you know science. It's like Katy Perry writing a star at the Super Bowl, girl. Like the more you know, you know what I'm saying?
That you care. I mean, honestly, that's probably my biggest like takeaway is like, it's not just to show you really do like science.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay, so here's what I thought. I was like, if I have like Chicagoland's greatest mixologist class teacher, I am not going to let you drink by yourself. So here's what I did. I made my own no proof cocktail. Would you like to know what it is?
Yes, I want to know.
It's a lemon lavender spritz.
That sounds fantastic. So, okay, you get some of that acidity. You're getting that trigeminal effectiveness of that lavender, that floral note, which is really nice as well. You're getting aromatics from that. You're also getting aromatics from the lemon peel, which is great. And then is it just club soda or is it seltzer water? What have we got? Oh, girl, you're busting it out.
I have it right here.
Yes. Gorgeous. Okay. And then you've got bubbles. And Dawn, fun fact, that stuff that you're holding in your hand, that lemon sparkly water, that is CO2, and CO2 is a trigeminal effect. So the ability for you to taste that there's bubbles and that bubble sensation in your mouth is actually picked up by your nerve endings. So you are adding a trigeminal effect. And of course, that can be used in lieu of alcohol or with it, however you want. And I love the bitters. Is that bitters?
Yep, Scrappy's
Girl.
lavender bitters, and this is my lemon thing. So this is it, girl. And so,
I love it.
again, I thought I would try to make sure that I have a no-proof cocktail to drink with you as you show us your magical way.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, so I know I just moved. So when I was like looking at my pantry, I was like, all right, this pantry literally just, I moved this past Sunday during the pandemic. It was
oh my gosh,
crazy.
I can't believe you moved. I was obsessed with your place.
I know, it was beautiful, but remember, I was supposed to be going to Italy. So I was supposed to be moving to Italy in April, and then of course everything happened, and I thought, well, I already put the condo up on the market. I thought, let's just go ahead and get a new place and resettle in. So this is the pantry.
Right.
So I was gonna joke with you that we could probably make like a black bean and salmon cocktail, but we're not gonna put you through that, girl. We're not gonna do that for you.
No, I don't want that.
It could be a very interesting, like umami style cocktail, but there is something that I've got in my pantry, and I bet, Dawn, you've got it too. And it's a little thing that we call apple cider vinegar. Do you have this in your pantry?
Big fan.
Me too. So when I think about non-alcoholic or no-proof cocktails, what I want to think about is, again, party in my mouth, everyone's invited. I need a lot of layers of flavor that are either sweet, sour, salty, bitter, or umami. But I also need that chemical sensation, right? I need that trigeminal effectiveness. And more so because I'm taking alcohol out. So I decided that for this particular class, I was going to make a shrub. I'm guessing you know what a shrub is? Fantastic.
No.
So
I mean, here's the thing. Yeah. You know, I know a tree and I know a bush and I know a shrub. Like, I know those, right? But I don't know, like, a shrub cocktail.
So, well, this is magic. It's really magic. So while I was moving, and really most of the time, because what we do is we go to the store, right? We buy a bunch of strawberries, we buy oranges. And then sometimes, Dawn, we're not so good about remembering that we have those things in our pantry and they start to go bad. Right. So this is perfect for anybody who's got an overabundance of something fruit-wise. So what I did, and this is great because now that I've got this in my hand, I can show you. I took orange peels, so orange and everything in it, and then I stuck this in a bowl with a bunch of sugar. I let this cure for about 5 hours. So all the juices from the orange started to come out. So it's a solvency.
Do you leave it on the counter or in the fridge?
I just leave it on the counter for about 5 hours just to make sure it gets room temp. And then what I want to do is after that, I take apple cider vinegar and I pour apple cider vinegar, about a cup, over the fruit and the sugar. Now what this does,
Wait, how much? This is now perking my interest that I now need to know ratios and everything.
Perfect.
So, like, how much of the fruit do I need and how much of the sugar do I need for the 5 hours?
Excellent. So I would say about a pound of oranges, which really, you know, oranges are so big, you only need about 2 oranges. Okay. And then I put about a half a cup of sugar because, like you, Dawn, I don't like things too sweet. So I want to make sure that I've got enough sugar. And oranges have so much natural sugar in them anyway. Yeah. So I've cut these up. I put a half a cup of sugar over. Okay. You want to make sure that the sugar completely covers, so I give it a nice shake while it's in there. Okay. And then what I do is I pour a cup, just 1 cup of apple cider vinegar. Now, Dawn, this works with any vinegar. White wine vinegar, champagne vinegar, just plain white vinegar. You just need a full cup, and then you're going to pour it over. And what it does scientifically is the solvency of that acetic acid, which is what makes up vinegar, is going to start to basically leach all the flavors out from the oranges and the sugar and incorporate it into that vinegar. And so when I drain this liquid off, even though there's not going to be any orange pieces left, what it's going to taste like is a very orange heavy vinegar, which is lovely because it's got sort of that effervescent bubbliness to it. It's going to be fruity. It's going to be aromatic because some of the oil has leached in. It's going to be a little bit sweet, and it's perfect for no-proof cocktails.
Okay, what I love about this, here's the thing. I feel like the apple cider vinegar, even though you can use any kind of vinegar, I do feel like that is, like, for me and my audience of, like, oh my gosh, apple cider vinegar is life. I've got 99 problems, but apple cider vinegar ain't one. Like,
never.
All of that. I feel like that's such a match. I love knowing, like you said, that vinegar goes in there and then basically it's drawing out and sucking out like the orange oils and the orange flavor and all that. And so what you're draining is you actually are not draining down the drain the liquid. You want that liquid.
You
the
want
liquid
all that liquid. Gold. That's the liquid. And the beautiful part is it can be customized. So let's say you didn't have a whole pound of oranges. You only have one orange. And maybe you've got, I don't know, 8 or 9 strawberries that are kind of going bad. You could just put in the whole strawberries as well as the oranges and make an orange strawberry shrub. Or let's say that you decided you wanted to go into your pantry and I have black peppercorns. Now this is already a shrub as well. So this is vinegar that's been soaking these black peppercorns. And as you can see, the vinegar, this was a white vinegar, has taken on the color of the pepper, which means this is going to be a very pepper heavy, very spicy vinegar, which is nice because you could add things like whole cinnamon sticks and make it a cinnamon based shrub as well as oranges. You could add hot pepper. You could add, goodness, anything. You could add fresh herbs and literally soak it all. Go ahead.
Okay. What exactly, the shrub part of it, what makes it a shrub exactly?
Yeah. Okay. So the cool part about this is back in colonial America, they were looking, right?
Back all the way to
Girl, I'm taking you back. We're time traveling. Diddle-oo, diddle-oo, diddle. We're time traveling because right now it's really important that you know that colonial Americans were very, very smart. And what they had to do is if there was something that was going bad, they had to find a way to preserve it. And there was no refrigeration. So what preserves things? Alcohol, things that are solvents like acids, like acetic acid, like vinegar. And so what they found is that they could preserve fruit by putting sugar over it and then storing it in vinegar. And then of course, once they took the top off, it smelled and tasted like whatever they added into that particular vinegar mix. So you had almost like a soda, an early soda, if you must, where it was like a fruit based with some sugar. And most of the times back then it was honey that they were using because of course it was colonial America. But they really used it as called drinking vinegars. So they could drink that vinegar and it almost tasted like a fruity, sugary, but of course that acetic acid gives a little something to the back of the palate, and then they could drink it. Crazy, right?
So that is what makes a shrub cocktail a shrub, is that
yes.
Sort of curing with the sugar and the vinegar and holding it. Now, how long does the orange sugar mix have to sit with that 1 cup of vinegar?
I would say about 24 hours.
Oh,
so you can leave it for longer. Oh yeah, you can leave it for you could leave it for 3 days if you wanted to. If you forgot about it, don't worry, you can use it. But I used to do it for about 24 hours and I leave it in the refrigerator overnight. And then I also leave it in a place where I can see it because as you know, out of sight, out of mind, and you don't want to forget about it.
So, okay, so you put that with the vinegar, cup of vinegar over the oranges and the sugar that were sitting around for 5 hours. You put it then in the fridge for 24 hours.
Got it.
And then you're draining off that liquid is what you want to keep. You're draining off the other stuff. And now what do you do with this nectar that you created?
Oh my gosh. So the coolest thing about having a nectar like this is, first of all, you need to have some ice. So of course, dilution and temperature are the number 1 and 2 things about mixology. So remember, because alcohol doesn't need to be in a cocktail because we can make them no proof, you need water in the form of ice. 1/3 of every cocktail is water in the form of ice, no matter if it has alcohol or not, because of course it rounds off the edges, the dilution of it. So it's not just all really harsh flavors. You're getting some of that water in it and really mixing it around, but also temperature. Because Dawn, when was the last time you had a lukewarm or room temperature cocktail? Probably not, right? They're either hot.
I'm drinking mine right now. It's basically hot bath water.
Oh, girl. Hey, if it's hot, that's okay, because remember, hot toddies can be hot. But if it's, you gotta have a cocktail colder.
Please don't talk to me about hot toddies. Those are my favorite thing ever. I've got a real problem with hot toddies. So anyway, so you're making this wonderful shrub. And now what do you do with that liquid?
Okay, so the first thing I want to do, obviously, is I just want to get some ice. I'm going to put it over ice, but I'm also going to do a couple fun things to it because, of course, we've got Mother's Day coming up. I've got some other fun options in my handbag. First thing I want to do, of course, is just put ice in a glass. I'm going to use about 4 or 5 cubes because this is going to be a stirred drink because I don't want to shake it at this point. I want to make sure that I'm really getting a good stir in. And Dawn, the reason I want to do this is I don't want this drink quite as cold because of some of the other ingredients I'm going to add. Then, as you can see, I have got the nectar. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stir in a couple of spoonfuls. It's like, dun, dun, one, I'm gonna go ahead and count them out, two, three, and honestly, look how like syrupy, I'm gonna see if I can get this on. Do you see how syrupy that is?
Yeah,
It's got a little bit more viscosity on it because of that sugar, which is really nice.
Once do you ever drain, so after that 24 hours or 3 days, you drain off those like oranges or whatever fruit you did, you have that liquid. Then do you keep that liquid like in the fridge for a long time or what?
I do. I keep it in a sealed ball jar. So you can just keep it in a sealed ball jar and you put a little label across the top, orange shrub when it's made. Because it's got that acid in it, it will keep for quite a long time. So I would say about 2 to 3 weeks that you can keep it in the refrigerator.
Oh, okay.
So you can make a huge batch.
Great. So now you have this fabulous shrub over your ice cubes. And then what else are we doing?
All right. So the other thing I want to show people is that these no-proof cocktails don't have to be boring, because we've got things that are really interesting, like shimmer powder. This is pearl dust, and this pearl dust is really pretty. So I buy this at the baking section. Ooh, I love that I'm gonna like really get down to the camera over here. So you can buy this at the baking section at Michael's or at Joann Fabrics. And what you can do is you can see that it has got this really lovely pearlescent color to it. And because of course it's going to be Mother's Day, and I love like girly looking cocktails as well. I just think that they're so much prettier, and because it's Friday, and as you know, you've got sparkles on, so we'll add sparkles anyway. What we could do is we're just going to add a little bit of this to the cocktail. So you can see I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit on there, and then when we look in the lights, dun, 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 you can see this like really pearly color. All right, so we're going to stir this in. I love it. Like here, when I moved, I used to have a really nice setup for my camera at my other place. And then of course, you know, moving, I just moved like 2 days ago. So I've not had it to be able to set up yet. But this is going to be, I always tell myself it's like a low budget cooking show, Dawn. We gotta like.
I call it being scrappy.
Right?
Being scrappy, I think. I don't think it's scrappy. I think it's scrappy.
Scrappy, scrappy.
Up from the bootstraps. That's what I get confused. It's pulling yourself up from the bootstraps, but being scrappy is like what you're doing. Okay.
So
wow.
It's got a little bit of a shimmer to it. Now it's hard to see on this camera, but you can actually see really well here that we've got a lot of really fun pearlescence color to this. So it's nice and sparkly and shimmery now. It smells super orangey, but there's a couple of other things that I want to do because of course we're not done yet. Remember, I like to think of cocktails as having layers, right? So it's like a complicated girl or boy, right? Somebody who's just got a little bit more to them rather than just being very like simple in one note. So we've got orange, right? Orange, and we've got that acetic acid. We're gonna have the water taking off a little bit of the edges of the acetic acid, a little bit of that shimmer powder. So what else do I have? Well, there's a couple of options. If you wanted to make something more herbaceous, you could go no proof, but put some CBD oil in. So, oh yeah, girl, I'm like, it's Friday, maybe we need something extra. And this is great because, of course, you're getting that a little bit of course, the body high without having a lot of the actual high because it's not the THC, it's the CBD. And you could add that in. But I'm not going to do that for this one.
I was making no proof cocktails over the holidays with CBD. And a couple girlfriends said I maybe used too heavy of a hand with CBD, not because of the flavor, but because of the effects. So
oh, girl!
I'm a big fan of the CBD no-proof cocktail.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got CBD, but what I want to do is I also want to think about either using some sort of honey or some sort of other additional ingredient. And for this one, I'm going to go ahead and use this, which has got a little bit of acetic acid in it, and this is the black pepper, because I wanted to make something that's got some equal heat to it, but I also want some of that acetic acid as well. So
now, if I didn't have that black pepper shrub in addition to the shrub that I made,
right,
could I use just like black pepper in it or cayenne?
Absolutely. So you can actually crack black pepper into it. Or you could use whole black peppers and you could heat up your shrub and let a lot of the heat take out those black peppercorn flavors as well. Because remember, there's multiple ways to steep things into drinks. So I've got this guy here. I'm just going to go ahead and put 1 full spoonful into the cocktail and give them a little bit of a stir.
Part of what I like that is I like the spice that's going in there because it's sour. Right?
Yeah.
Vinegar. It's sweet because of that little bit of sugar and orange. and now I'm getting like something with heat. I'm liking your layers. I'm liking your layers.
That's what I like to see. Last but not least, of course, though, we need something that's going to have a little bit of bubble to it because we want to have a little extra dilution, right? We want a little bit of bubble.
To that, I'll add some to mine.
There we go. This one is what I'm going to run. It's a grapefruit and rose sparkling. So this is a botanic soda this is actually local. This is from Chicago. So this is seasoned sparkling. It's not going to have any sugar added into it, but it's going to have those grapefruit notes, which is a little bit of more drying effect. And then, of course, that astringency is going to give us a dry mouth drying effect. And then we've got rose, which has got lovely sort of nose to it. It's got those floral notes. It goes with that pink sparkle that we've got as well. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a pretty decent splash.
So you don't have that. What would you use a different, like something more like a grapefruit flavored sparkling water? Or like, is there another type of one if we don't have that exact one?
Absolutely. So you can use pretty much any sparkling that doesn't have any sugar in it. So you want to make sure it's got no sugar. Bonus points if you've got club soda, which has got a little bit of salt in it, because that sodium is really going to also balance out the drink with the sweetness. And that's really lovely as well. So as long as you've got some sort of sparkling, anything will do. If you wanted to make it a low proof cocktail, you could even do a little bit of champagne in there or some Prosecco. So you could put just that little extra in there, which is not going to exceed, and it's going to be low proof. So it's going to be keeping it under that 30 proof, which is quite nice. And then this.
Is that the definition of what a low proof cocktail is? Is it 30% alcohol or less?
So it can actually be a little bit lower than that. Most of them are usually 20% ABV or below. It just depends on what you're adding in. So I like to, and also, girl, it's all subjective. Some people think that low proof is just adding one less ounce of booze, like tequila in a drink, rather than something else. But it's important to know.
True that.
To each her own. You know what I'm saying? It's all however you want to do it. So this. Now, when you taste this, now you could garnish this with like a rose. You could garnish this with something that's edible.
That? Give me a name. I want a name.
Let's see. Mama needs a drink. Because I'm guaranteeing your mama probably needs a drink.
This is a drink based in your orange shrub that you taught us how to make, which I feel like is just great. If I was going to take a step back, a big step back, and look at like your anatomy, like your checklist. Oh.
I've got someone
Amazon delivery.
I wish.
If you were going to take a step back and really say the at Hollow Leg Mixology, like anatomy checklist of a good cocktail, is there like things that I could say, okay, hey, check, I have that, check, I have that, check, I have that?
Yes. So the anatomy of a good cocktail, you want balance. So my whole thing would be you want something that's got playing on the nose. So of course the nose, that is our most important sense of smell. So sense of smell, most important. It's our strongest sense. It's linked to our hippocampus, our memory center. So it kind of reminds us and takes us on a journey of where we've been before. So I would say something aromatic, and that comes into the thing of oils. You can get oil though, remember, from muddling fresh orange or lemon or lime into a glass. You can add that by adding fresh herbs or dry herbs into something. But then you're looking at flavor. And the flavor is going to be sweet, sour, salty, bitter, or umami. And you want a balance of that. And that's those little receptors on your tongue. So that's going to be like, let's say that you put something sour in. Think of it like making lemonade. You need also something that's going to have a balance of sweetness in as well. You've also got something, if you're going to make like a salty cocktail, you want that bitter edge to it. You want some sort of like note in that. The other thing that you want to remember though is that we've also got trigeminal effects, that third part, which a lot of people forget about.
Just saying that word?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I hear it, I've heard it several times. I'm like, I don't even know if I can say it. Trigonal. Wait.
You almost got trigeminal.
Trigeminal.
Trigeminal. You're almost there. T-R-I, gem, G-E-M, trigeminal. So it's the trigeminal nerve ending.
Trigeminal.
Trigeminal. And instead of D. There you go. Okay. Oh, you got that, girl.
Trigeminal.
Perfect. Woo! You deserve a disco ball for that.
Hey, thank you for the reminder. I will give myself a disco ball for that.
So when you think of trigeminal effects are going to be those effects that are really connected to your nerve endings. It's the chemical sensations. And remember, chemical sensations can be picked up by lots of different things. So like I said before, you can have things like capsaicin oil, black pepper, but also the pungency of garlic and ginger. So those pungent notes that you get, that's trigeminal effects as well. Carbon dioxide, trigeminal effects. So you can really pick from a litany of different ingredients and different things, because here's the thing, if it doesn't have something that's dancing inside of your mouth, if it's not making you want to sing, then it's just a glorified juice drink. We need, right?
Amen. Well,
right?
So that trigeminal, that when you're doing, so alcohol has that. And if you're taking alcohol out of a drink, it's really important to have like that carbon dioxide, like you said, in the sparkling, or to have like the ginger or the garlic or the hot pepper or something, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
And that's the cool part, is that I want people to stop thinking about mocktails as just a juice drink that does not have alcohol. I want people to think of no proof mixology as being an exercise in science. And how can we make all of these little receptors in our mouth fire? How can we do that? If we learn about the science of it, then you can just backtrack and then put whatever combination you want. And like I said, it's like a party in your mouth with everyone invited. And that's what we're looking for when we look for good cocktails. So it should be the same application to no proof cocktails.
I love that.
So
hey,
cool.
Can we do a cheers to you? Oh my
Girl.
gosh, I'm so glad your butter classes turned into these cocktail classes.
Right?
It's really, it's really putting your journalism background and love of food and science to work. Like you really get to use it in such a special way. I really cannot thank you enough, because I feel like the biggest takeaway, other than like learning how to make a shrub, which I never even knew how to do, is this idea of stop using the word mocktail. It's a glorified juice. Really try and lean into this more classy, high vibe of a no proof cocktail. Like that's vernacular. Change your vernacular, and
absolutely
change how you're actually enjoying your drink.
Exactly. It's just so important that we all think, hey, first of all, what do you have in your pantry? If you've got tea, if you've got coffee, you can make a no-proof cocktail or a low-proof cocktail. And you really just need a variety of ingredients to play on trigeminal effects and taste, and you're off to the races. And there's so many combinations out there, Dawn, that work. And there's so many that I'm sure people think are weird, like jalapeno and coffee together, which, by the way, try it. It is absolutely fabulous. The heat, the bitterness of the coffee, maybe some brightness of orange juice in there. It sounds weird, but weird is where we need to go. We need to get into the weird direction.
I love this. Hey, at Hollow Lake Mixology, where could everybody go if they want to learn like all this stuff about like shrubs and all the science of mixology? Like, are you doing online stuff? Like, where can we go to get more of you?
Absolutely. So we do Zoom classes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6:30 Central. They are completely free. You know, we've got all of the information in our little link in our bio. And tonight we're doing beer cocktails and sharing the science of hops and mouthfeel and carbon dioxide and taking a deep dive. We're doing a program with Virtue Cider on Wednesday about cider cocktails and all the intricacies that cider brings to the table. And they're so chock full of science that the only thing you'll regret is not having any notepad if you want to take notes, or asking me for the video, because it's just, there's so many cool things about your body, because you're all built in. You're like a Mac computer, Dawn. Like, you've got all of the tools you need to make a good cocktail. You just need to know the words behind them and the science on how to execute.
Hey, that is huge. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at Hollow Lake Mixology. You can meet up. You know how many Zoom class or Zoom meetups and happy hours have I been to already? A million.
Oh my gosh, girl.
Popular. But I mean, here's the thing. That would be a great place to meet friends, is at your Zoom to actually learn something together. Babe, that's incredible.
Thank you.
So cool. I love
They've been
this.
so much fun. We've had Woodford Reserve on, we've had Jack Daniels, we've had all these international bartenders that have been friends of mine, like Andrea Melise, and world-class bartenders like Julian Short from South Africa. So like all these really cool people who are coming from across the world to share their passion and their craft as well, and all underlying science with Julia childlike conviction, girl.
Oh, I love it. Hey, thank you so much for making a no cocktail with us today. At Hollow leg mixology. You really kicked our weekend off on a very, very, very great note. Thank you for being on the Pantry Party
Of
Show.
course. Thank you so much for having me, Dawn, and hopefully
Bye.
I'll see your face in person.
Oh, yeah. I mean, now that I know about your Zooms, I'll be there.
Bye.
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 That was another fabulous episode of the Pantry Party Show, special edition early happy hour. We had at Hollow Leg Mixology on, and she really gave us a good schooling of science and changing up our mindset that it's not about the mocktail. That's just a juicy juice baby drink. It's all about the no-proof cocktail. And so check her out. And like she said, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, she's doing Zooms where you can meet up at your friends and learn a lot about cocktailing. So that was a full week of the Pantry Party Show. If you missed any of the episodes, you can go to IGTV on my account, and you can see episode after episode after episode of wonderful guests that are inspiring us in our pantries during this different time in our history, right? And I will be back next week with a full week lineup of Pantry Party guests. And until next time, sending you high immunity vibes, big love, and lots of kisses. Bye, guys. Have a good weekend.